Forest podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parnell has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, J.M., and Paul G.
Good morning.
What cancer, sir?
I'll make sure get that mic a little out of the way, so make sure I'm not doesn't have an obscenity here on your show.
There's no obscenity.
Because I know we have such high community standards here.
We do. We do. Especially you, Mr. Caucus. Kennedy can.
I don't know whether to say thank you or not for that video. For the record, I had no input on it and didn't know you were doing it till you posted it. So
Lake Forest, it's a Ward 3 kind of town. Joe Weiss is running, he won't let the caucus down. He's transparent, he'll disclose it, every dollar, every dime. While the others spend their dark money, Joe's out there all the time. Joe Weiss for caucus, Ward 3, let's go. He didn't electioneer, he just let the voters know. Lake Forest, don't be a Weiss hole now. Vote for the guy who showed up and told you exactly how.
That's why it's plausible.
Now they're going to file a complaint against me with the State Board of Elections for
how can they
dark money.
For what? Putting up AI slop, please. The courts are only
as my kids were the first to see it. One of my, I think it was my son.
Yeah.
And my daughter says, if only you looked that good in real life.
It's good to have family. See, that's how the gods of AI are. Sometimes they give, sometimes they get.
You get a nice AI makeover, I guess, huh?
Or over, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then our music. Saturday morning drives. Who knew?
So what does it do? It takes the recording of the show and just comes up with like a word cloud song based on what's said the most, or?
Hey man, I'm looking to put an album together. This is what we talked about. Okay. What do you think? That's how easy it is.
I'm just thinking back to some of our more memorable shows and how that would have worked
Well, then we have Dr. Griffin. I wonder what kind of song we could do for Dr. Griffin.
I don't know.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you. You could always do Rolling Stones. I always like the Rolling Stones.
There you
Okay.
go.
Huh?
Painted black.
You got it. All right. Can't get no satisfaction, guys.
Oh, there it is.
Huh?
There it
I
is.
remember when I first heard the Stones, I
Yeah.
was, I don't know, pretty little boy. And
Whippersnapper.
I'm on my bike in Gurnee, riding past the Gurnee discount store years ago. And at the A&W or Dog and Suds stand used to be there, I heard this song blasting out of the speakers. I can't get no satisfaction. And from that moment on, they had me. That moment.
Did you have the 45? Did you
Oh,
get
yeah.
the thing? Okay.
Oh,
All right.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And I still have all the most all of the Beatles albums as well. I saved them all.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that in the will?
Well, yeah, it is in the will, as a matter of fact.
Okay, dang it.
It is in the will.
Trying to work my way in there.
There you go. There you go.
Dr. Griffin, welcome back.
Thank
Last
you.
time, there must have been an election back then. Is there an election coming up now? Is
Yes.
that a coincidence?
Yes, there is election. This is a smaller one. This
Yeah.
is precinctman in the 252 precinct there in Lake Forest. I have some competition there. Don't ask me why, but I do. So I'm,
How dare they?
So,
I
Dr. Griffin, there's a little background here, just for people that don't know what's going on. So, we divide the county and the city and whatever. The county clerk divides it into precincts, and in every precinct elects in the primary every 2 years a Republican precinct committeeman and a Democratic precinct committeeman. And many of these precincts go unfilled by both parties. So they're usually lucky if they get one person to run because it's an unpaid position. It's thankless. And I say that for both parties. It's thankless, and the days of precinct captains in Chicago having control over patronage and stuff, those are long gone. And I don't know if that even ever happened up here in Lake County, but it's long gone everywhere. So it's really a thankless position. So like I said, usually most of these precincts either have no candidate running or one, but there's two running in your precinct there. And the precinct is roughly, I have the map and I sent it. Pete has it. He'll put it up on the recording of the podcast so everybody can see it. So this is a very targeted audience we got this morning. So it's basically
Small.
It's the area. It's basically the very far northeast area of the city, as I see it. You know this better than me, but it's east of the railroad track of the Union Pacific Railroad tracks and north of what's the southern boundary there?
It'd be Woodland.
Woodland. Okay. So north of Woodland, over to the lake, obviously, and then I guess up to the city limits. It looks like rough.
About Park Street.
So basically, like the area of the high school and that neighborhood, and that's where you live, right?
Exactly.
So you're on the ballot. The primary is next week, March 17th. I guess the name Griffin's a good name to have on March 17th, but you are running, and people who live in that precinct who choose to vote in the Republican primary have the option to vote for you. So let's talk about it for a little bit of what it involves beyond what I said, and why people in that precinct should vote for you.
Well, it's obviously, thank you, Joe, a Republican versus a Republican, which I never think is a good idea. We have a lot of other issues to worry about besides two Republicans running against each other. I've never met this other candidate before. Don't know really anything about him. As Joe, you probably know, there's a bit of friction in the Lake County Republicans, one side versus the other side, for whatever reasons. So we should be pointing our guns towards the Democrats rather than each other. My basic job is to get the information out to the people that live in 252 about the candidates that I think are the best ones for the job. of keeping lower taxes, providing jobs, and that type of thing, and lowering taxes. So my job is to really get out there, which I do, walk the precinct as often as I can, or we do mailings to the folks that are registered voters within that precinct to let them know, at least in my opinion, a little bit of the background of why they should be voting for me and or the governor, Ted, that we're supporting as well, and or any other candidates. But, I've been a citizen of Lake Forest for well over 30 years. As I think you fellows know, I've been involved in Republican politics essentially all my adult life. I've been on the ballot 6 times as a College of Lake County candidate and have won that election. As you guys said, I was up for re-election 3 years ago. I was a top vote getter, and now I sit on the College of Lake County board and trying to do a lot of good things with the college. My primary objective there is it the right thing to do for the students? Is it fair to the taxpayers? That's my motto that I live by. And I take this very seriously, the politics that are going on, because really all politics are local, and the people that we elect locally, I think, have the biggest effect on us overall.
Well, we must have an important guest on this show because Philippe is here.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Griffin, do you know Philippe?
I do. He's in my precinct.
Oh, so you got I don't know if he's an undecided voter or not, but you've got a voter in your precinct.
Yeah, Ward 1 voter for sure.
Yeah.
Bill knows my son, because when my son worked over at Gerhard's, I think he reported to me yesterday that Bill was a pretty good tipper. So,
well, there's an election coming up, right?
What's Mary keeping to that?
Well, I just do it. In fact, I was there this morning. So, yeah. No, obviously it's a great place. I'm there almost every morning, except Mondays when she's closed. Yeah. Cup of coffee and whatever. But it's a good gathering place, so we all enjoy it.
Philippe, why is this a contested election, Dr. Griffin? Is that what I'm hearing when I was tuning back in? Because 3 years ago it was just you, or what's another Republicans going against you? I'm trying to understand.
This is totally separate from College of Lake County board.
Yes.
This has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, we can talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Joe, you guys know what's going on. Yes, it is another Republican, as I mentioned. Never met him. I know where he lives because I was by his house when I was out seeking petitions to get on the ballot. There's just some friction going on in Lake County Republican politics for whatever reasons at the top leadership. And, don't ask me why. I really don't know. I'm not that involved at the top level of Lake County Republican politics. I'm just trying to do my job as a precinct committeeman the best I can. And like I said, I don't think Republicans should be fighting other Republicans. If it was something that we should have sat down or could have sat down and talked about by opponent, that would have been fine. But like I say, I've never met him, don't know anything about him.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, most of these go uncontested or non-contested. So, and I know, many times there's been times somebody stepped up and said they wanted to run. They're like, well, wait, we already have someone doing this, but here's another role for you until that person chooses to do otherwise. And that avoids this kind of inter-party fighting. I think it's no different than what we've seen in the caucus over the years, is that someone that doesn't get picked for something gets a little bent out of shape about it, and
call them a wambulance.
Starts lining people up so that they then get picked. So I think ultimately,
a little democracy never hurt anybody, guys.
That's true.
Okay.
That's
there we
true.
go.
It's fine.
We're crying out loud. We don't need to avoid elections. Survival of the fittest.
There are times contested primaries are valid, and I don't like it when an incumbent is primaried, but there are times it's valid. Go back to 1976. Ronald Reagan primaried President Jerry Ford in the Republican primary, and I don't think anyone would argue Ronald Reagan was trying to divide the GOP. So, but there's other times I think it ends up hurting the cause more than helping. There are people that still think Ford lost in 76 because Reagan primaried him. I don't think that's the case, but there are people that still think that. That's it. That said, I think for this, I don't see any compelling reason to vote out Bill. Bill has always been a good, solid volunteer. I mean, everyone knows him. He steps up on so many levels here in the community. So I think, and look, being a Republican in Lake County is not what it used to be. I mean, we don't control.
What did it used to be?
Used to 10, 15 years ago, Pete,
Yeah.
the entire county elected officials were Republican, and the majority of the county board was Republican.
Right.
But that has switched, and I there are a lot of reasons we could talk about that. We could do a whole show on that. I think a lot of it has to do with demographic changes in the county, plus the party's move nationally to the right, maybe on certain issues, may have alienated some of the swing voters that we had in the past that voted for people like Mark Kirk and Bob Dole, for example. But nonetheless, I don't think we can't hang that on Bill.
Yeah.
Bill's been a good, solid volunteer for the party. And I think if I lived in his precinct, I would vote for him. Precinct 2, Shields. It's in Shields Township. Most of Lake Forest is in Shields, though not all.
Right.
It's in Shields Township, Precinct 252. Pete will have the map up on the show so people can reference it. And it's on the Lake County Clerk website. But as we said earlier, it's basically the neighborhood around the high school. I think that's Philippe's precinct. So what Philippe does in the ballot box is private, but we hope Philippe votes for Bill here.
Well, this election gave me the opportunity to explain to my son what is a precinct committeeman, because he's 17 years old, but will be turning 18 before the general election. So he and I went up to the North Chicago early voting location yesterday, and so we were able to vote, and I was able to tell him about what is a committeeman, and Bill and the other guys, Taylor as race, and also about the referendum, the non-binding referendum issue on the ballot, which I think is probably worth mentioning if people want to talk about that. But Bill, what do you want to do as a precinct committeeman? I came in a little late. I apologize, but what's the it's too late for me. I've already voted, but for the people who haven't voted yet in the first ward, what do you want to do in the
it's not even just the first ward, it's precinct 252.
You're right, 252. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So why should people vote for you as opposed to your opponent?
Well, number one thing I want to do is elect Republicans. That's what I want to do, and I want to inform people of the candidates and their background of what they're voting for. So the information I send out, the information or my discussions with people within that precinct these are the reasons why I think this candidate would be the best candidate. All right, going through their issues, maybe if they voted before, whatever it might be, these are the issues that I think are important. All right, and I think you should elect me because I care very deeply about these politics and what's going on in our communities. As I said before, all politics are local. And I've been here for a very long time. I've supported candidates all the way back to begin with Ronald Reagan and all of the Republicans. So it's my job to try to make sure everyone has intelligent information about who they're voting for. That's my number one job.
Well, and I think the key with this bill is I've seen this before where we get people that become a precinct committee person. It's now called precinct committee person. They changed the law a few years ago, and there's certainly a lot of great women PCs out there. But a lot of people get into these precinct committee person positions and then do nothing. They don't, but as we all just talked about, you're out and about every day in your neighborhood and over at Gerhard's. I mean, everybody I know in Lake Forest knows Bill Griffin. You're out there, you talk to people, you do the work because this is not a show position. This is a workhorse position,
And attending the Shields Township meetings. Dan Rogers, who heads up the Shield Township, is very organized, has meetings once a month for sure, and supporting him in all his efforts. He has some other candidates that are having some fundraisers that are coming up. And there was another one last Saturday, which I was not able to attend, but supporting Dan and his efforts to get out and elect good Republicans.
Yeah, there is a fundraiser coming up, and I think we're going to have her on the show. Kate McGrath
Right. Yes.
is running for state senate. She's not contested in the primary, so people don't have to work. I mean, she'll be on the ballot in the primary, uncontested, and everybody should vote for her that's voting in the Republican primary.
Exactly.
But she's running in the general election against Julie Morrison in that state senate district, which includes Lake Forest, but unfortunately also includes Highland Park and Deerfield. But she's having a campaign.
People's Republic.
Yes. Kate is having a fundraiser at Duffers on Friday, April 10th, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. There's information. You can go to the Shields Township GOP Facebook page, and they've got it posted there with a link to buy tickets online. And like I said, I'm working with having Kate on. I wanted to wait till after the primary, because we wanted to talk about people contested in the primary. You mentioned Ted Dabrowski earlier.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Ted has been to Lake Forest multiple times for events, including one at Duffers. He just had one at a private home this past Saturday in Lake Forest. He's no stranger to the area. He lives in Wilmette. There's 3 other people running. We all know Darren Bailey, the DuPage County Sheriff James Mendrick, and then Rick Heidner, who's a businessman, was a late entry in, but he's running and he's spending a lot of money. So the last poll I saw had Darren Bailey up substantially, which, as I've said, this is me talking, not you, but as I've said, Darren is a very nice man, and I feel bad what happened to his family. But we saw in 2022 that he's just not electable in a statewide election in Illinois. And I think it's an uphill battle for Republicans in Illinois. Let's not kid ourselves. We've lost more elections than we've won the last few years. But I think Ted would give us a much better shot at that of winning in the general, and would also help our down ballot candidates. That's another thing people forget to think about is, with all due respect to Senator Bailey, he had a very negative effect on the rest of the ticket in some races that were close that the Democrats ended up winning, because it took down the rest of the ticket. And it's no fault of his personally. Like I said, he's a very nice man. But he doesn't, I wouldn't be able to run for governor of Kentucky. I think he'd be better off running for governor of Kentucky, but he lives closer to the Kentucky state capitol than he does to the city of Chicago. But that said, like I said, and this is nothing personal against him, but the problem is that most people know Darren Bailey, and they don't really know Ted Dabrowski or Rick Heidner or Sheriff Mendrick from DuPage County. And that's where a precinct committee person comes in. And you've chosen to support Ted Dabrowski.
Yes, I did.
As have I. And you go around and talk to people. And, I think with all of the social media and direct mail and yard signs, all that stuff, I still think there's no substitute for the personal relationship that a precinct committee person can have with the people in their precinct, in their neighborhood, particularly on these lower races. I mean, let's face it. I don't know if you.
Joe, I was just gonna say it'd be interesting to hear what Bill has to think about Ted Dabrowski.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, in my mailer, I sent out to the people in my precinct that I was supporting Ted. I met him once. At Duffers at the fundraiser that Dan Rogers had. I listened to him. He sounded like a very good experienced person who understood politics, but certainly what I was hearing from him from a business perspective, and I look at things really primarily from a business perspective about what we can do about jobs, bringing jobs into Illinois and lowering the taxes for sure. So I listened to him. I just met him the one time, but I was very impressed with him. I hope to meet him many more times, but I think his message is clear. It's succinct. And it's very distinct on Republican issues that he's talking about with jobs, lower taxes, and he really seems to have a good background that I think would fit very well in the governor's office, and appeared really to be someone, in briefly meeting with him and talking to him, that listens to you. When the conversation that I had with him, he appeared just not to be talking to me. He appeared to be listening to me as well, which I really thought was a very good characteristic, that some person that can just sit down and listen to people's issues. And I think he's that kind of guy. He's just personable, and his experience impressed me as well. So I think I agree with Joe. I think he's the best chance that we have to get the governor's seat back, although it's not going to be easy for sure. But also, part of my job is to get you folks out to vote. If we had more Republicans out and voting than just sitting on the sidelines, we would do much better than we're doing. So that's my primary job as well, as I've said, to get Republicans elected, but also to get people out and vote.
Well, we talk about how everyone focuses on presidential politics. You take 10 random people on the street and ask them who the president of the United States is, they'll be able to tell you, but start asking them who their state representative is or their alderman, the local offices that I would argue have much more of an effect on your daily life. A lot of people just don't know. And the turnout drops off in these non-presidential elections. Ted had an interesting statistic when he was a guest here with us that if everyone who voted for Donald Trump had voted in the next governor election, we would have won.
Exactly. And the things that we're doing over Chills Township, headed up by Dan Rogers, proves that. We see the numbers. The organization that he's put together and others that are helping him. If we get the Republicans out, which is what I want to do, we win. We win. It's just, you can't sit around. And you're right, Joe. I mean, people come out for the presidential election. You saw how well President Trump did. But if they get out and vote, we can win.
What can a precinct committeeman do to help get out the vote?
Is talk to the people in the precinct, get information out to them to let them know how important your vote is. It's a one-on-one.
I remember back in the day, I grew up in Cook County, and my dad was the Republican precinct captain. That's what they call them in Cook County, because they're appointed, not elected like the rest of the state. But and our precinct back then was a very swing precinct that could go either way. And the big election locally back then was Abner Mikva versus John Porter for U.S. Congress. And he would go around and he'd have a list. This is before most people voted absentee or early, of course, but he would have a list of all the voters, of course, on paper back then, and would sit in the polling place on election day. And he took me one year, and you'd check off, hey, look, John and Jane Doe, I know, because I know them and I've talked to them, are going to vote for John Porter. But John and Jane Doe, it's 12 o'clock and they haven't come to vote yet. So I'm going to run over to their house or call them on the phone or whatever, and make sure I get them there before the polls close.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, who's running that van that picks them up and goes to the taverns and buys the shots? We don't do that anymore. Is that what happened to Republican Party, Dr. Griffin?
Well, we should be. Okay.
Oh wait, that's the Democrats. Never mind.
Well,
I grew up in the city. Sorry.
Bill only wants you to vote once, and in the precinct that you actually live in. If you're a U.S. citizen,
and show an ID too.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, you're right. There's a lot more we could be doing, and me, myself included. But hopefully people will get out in the precinct and other precincts and vote for me and for Ted as well. So I think I'm the right guy. I've got the right experience. I care about what happens in Lake Forest and Illinois and nationally. There's no question about that. So I'm going to be around. I'm not just going to be going away after the election. I'm going to be here. I live here. I'm embedded in this community, and I care very deeply what happens.
Do you think? Do you think that Keith Brin has done a good job, and is he going to continue to try to be the county Republican chairman?
My understanding is no, he's not. But also, yes, I support Keith. We're good friends. I support him, but my understanding is that he will be stepping aside as far as the Lake County head of the Republicans. So,
and that's why I think there's some of this jockeying,
right?
Contesting
Wait, Joe, you running for that too?
No, not me.
No, Joe.
No. That's an even more thankless position than precinct committeeman, is being Lake County Republican chairman these days. But
sounds like another political ad.
And there is, so the way that gets, just so people understand, the way that gets elected for both county chairman and township chairman, which we talked about Dan Rogers a minute ago, is the precinct committee persons. After there's a county convention, I believe this year, and it's for both parties. And there's a county convention by law in every county on April 15th. I believe that's the date this year. And they all get together and there's a weighted vote. So it's important not only that people vote for you, Bill, but that they turn out, because then you have a higher weighted vote at the county convention to decide that. And I've heard a couple names out there on this. We'll let the speculation, there'll be plenty of time to see how that goes, but so I think that's why there's kind of this proxy war going on in a few precincts like yours. I'm not sure how they picked you. Someone originally primaried Dan Rogers, but then they dropped out. Keith Brin in his home precinct in Highland Park is being primaried by someone. And I think it ties to a very, Mark Shaw and Julie Cho are the two names I keep hearing, but that they want to try and take over the Lake County GOP and the state Republican Party. And with all due respect to them, that would probably not be a good idea, my opinion. So but we'll see who steps up for that. I've heard some names. I don't want to speculate because it hasn't been official yet. But let's before we move on to some other stuff, since we have you here, Bill, you're a tireless volunteer, and one of those areas that you've been a very, very tireless volunteer with is College of Lake County.
Correct.
You were on with Pete and Scoo when you were running last time, and thankfully you won. And I know we had Jan Gibson, who lives here in Lake Forest, on, and she won along with Donna Abernathy, who I believe you endorsed both of them.
I did
last year. So why don't you give us an update what's going on over at College of Lake County, because it's a really important institution that people don't always know about.
Sure. Yes, before we move on to that, I just want to make it clear that I supported Keith Brin. He has done a very excellent job. So, I just want to make that clear. I've always supported Keith.
Yeah.
But what's going on at College of Lake County? Well, we may be getting a new president. So our president, Dr. Lori Suttick, is a finalist at a community college in Iowa. She's one of 4 candidates that is up for finalists for president at another college. So that's the latest news. She's been with us 7 years now, but this is the second time she's put her hat in the ring for another community college position. So there may be some real activity going on in College Lake County. I think we'll know within a couple of weeks whether she will be accepting and receiving that job as president of Des Moines Area Community College in Iowa. So so that's sort of breaking news. It just came out 2 days ago, I believe. So that's, the biggest news that we've heard happening. So we'll see how that develops. If that happens, of course, we will be putting together a search for a new president. We will name an interim president if that all happens, and so we'll start the search for a new president if it happens. Of course,
and you've been on the board quite a few years. I know you stepped away for a couple, but then came back. Have you been involved in college president searches before?
Oh, yes. Yes, several of them I have. Yes, absolutely. I've headed them up. I hired along my other board members the search company to go out and search for new president. So yeah, it's nothing new to me. Of course, it takes some time. It's a lot of work that goes in finding a new president. But yes, I've been involved in several of them. So other than that, I mean, that is big news. We'll see. Like I said, it's not been decided, but once you become a finalist at a community college, it's public information. I actually have been through this process myself. I was considered for the president of College of Lake County prior to Dr. Suttick coming on. I was nominated. Yeah, I was nominated. I was sitting on the board at the time. I've been on the board minus those 2 years for 26 years. And I was nominated to be the president of the College of Lake County. And when that happens, the search consultant comes to you and says, hey, do you want to move forward? You've been nominated. And at that time, I said, no, I don't want to step down from the board and put my hat in the ring. But obviously, she has accepted that. And once that happens, then it's public information. The whole world will know. Well, I'm sure almost everyone knows by today. So we'll see. But that's the process.
Was she an outside hire when she was hired?
Yes, she was from a college in Green Bay.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I was on the search committee at that time as well. So,
Dr. Griffin, you were on the show 2023. We didn't have Philippe then. We didn't have Joe, but we did have ChatGPT. Philippe runs Parents Care, and then Bill, you're on boards for schools. Back then, all we talked about was ChatGPT as just the next level up from Google. How are things changed in education? I'll start with Dr. Griffin, and I'd love to hear color from Philippe on how AI is working its way into the school system to hopefully increase efficiencies.
Yeah. Well, I could give you the perspective from actually a faculty member. I think you know I'm also full-time tenured faculty member at Triton College after a long career in corporate America, 32 years as the general manager for ComEd, and then I went on to run a couple other companies before I accepted this position as the chair of the accounting and business department at Triton. So I can see perspectives from both ends, setting policy on the College Lake County Board in the evening, and then kind of seeing that policy implemented in my classrooms here at Triton College. But I can tell you, my department, we've embraced the AI. And I'll give you a couple examples the way that we're using AI, and I think others are as well in the College of Lake County. For example, you all know you have PowerPoints from the publishers that you may be talking about during your lectures and that type of thing. Some of the things that we're doing, we're taking those PowerPoints and being able to turn those into a podcast with the help of AI. So instead of, particularly with online students, instead of them seeing sort of boring PowerPoints, if you will, we take those PowerPoints and then we convert them into a podcast. And it's a conversation between two people. So it's like you and I having a conversation on business law, on torts and criminal liability, civil law, whatever it might be. So it's about a 20-minute or so podcast that the students can listen to that instead of sort of just watching and looking at PowerPoints. So that's one of the things that we're doing. Not a lot of folks, I think, are doing it, but certainly that's one of the things that we're doing, which makes it very, very good for students to hear the dialogue. And also through AI, we're taking through Gamma, it's called Gamma, Gamma. We can create these slick PowerPoints other than just the publisher. So I can tell it, all right, give me 10 to 15 slides explaining what tort law and how it can be applied. And within 15, 16, 20 seconds, boom, 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 it's printed. And I say with graphics and examples. And so we can create some really slick PowerPoints that I couldn't do myself, that are graphics and that are just really fine-tuned, and the students really accept those or have been very well. Along with that, we can also through AI create these videos that supplement the material that we're studying, that are just not, YouTube. We're telling it what to do in the video, how to do it, and boom, we can create those through AI. So we're working on QR codes as well. We've got some other things that we're working on, but these are things that I think the progressive faculty, in the sense that I mean using technology when I say progressive, are embracing. And, for myself, I've kind of been around a long time, but we're really trying to stay ahead as much as we can on AI. And we'll also have students, and I think others are using this as well, use AI and supplement into some of their work that they're putting together for essays or whatever it might be, so long as, they're designating where that information is coming from. So we can't exclude it, but we can also include it as ways to supplement, so long as you're citing that work and where it's coming from. So as you guys know, there's so much coming out on AI, and we're just trying to take it one at a time. One at a time is what we're trying to do. So I'm having my students also do podcasts in the classroom. So the other day I asked students, how many of you actually created a podcast? And I've got about 22 students in most of my classes, and about one and a half, two people raised their hand that they've created a podcast. So through my instructional designer, and colleges have somebody like that, we're having students do other types of assignments. So I had them create an assignment. I gave them the assignment, and then they had to do the assignment by creating a podcast, and which is really turning out to be really a lot of fun and a different way of learning.
Maybe you could have Pete as a guest lecturer in your class there about
First of all,
podcasts.
Anybody says they're an expert in AI is lying, because this stuff it's like milk. It expires. It's so fast. Oh, you think you were good last week? Okay, great. There's somebody else with another product this week. Dr. Griffin, this is going to really stir the pot here, but it's a serious question. Schools, teachers, they're all there to convey knowledge to students, and they have to consume the knowledge and do something productive with it. History is all out there. Okay. I'm just taking a history professor or teacher or whatever. If I can make my own music album, why can't I just make my own curriculum and then have somebody validate that I have the knowledge that I claim that I do? Like saying CLC or Triton could give me credit for, okay, yes, this guy has proven that he has the knowledge. However he got it, who cares?
Right.
Well, is that going to disrupt things? What's your take on that? I'd love to hear Philippe's take too.
Well, yes, it can be done, giving them the opportunity to receive credit for the work experience that they've done. Not everyone does that. We are looking at different ways. We've not landed on how exactly to do that, but certainly helping students receive credit, advancing them to their degree by leveraging their work experiences. Exactly. Now, we will have to test them on certain areas of expertise from that specific subject. But yes, it's fine. There's not a lot of that going on, but I'm all for providing career experience that could lead to college credits if it's set up properly, and if the student can let us know, inform us exactly by, we'll give them exams and tests and certain ways of making sure they understand the knowledge and the subject. But yeah, I'm all for it. That type of education.
And then Philippe, before you give color, I think the way this is going to work is, because right now everybody's thinking AI, okay, great, cut staff, cut staff, cut staff. No, you take your best staff and you put them on steroids. You make them 10x better than what they're currently doing. So you have your best professors. I mean, I guess they're capped by the seating in the room and the days of the week, right? Well, if you can make those best professors even better and get the low performing ones doing something else, okay, I know unions are involved in all that, but is that what AI is going to do in the future? Philippe, your thoughts?
I mean, this is it's a great question, Pete, and it's such a complicated issue. So I'm just sitting here thinking how to articulate my opinion. So I'm going to try to just step back a second and say,
Well, if you can't do it, then nobody can.
I'm going to give it a shot. All right. So what is the purpose of school? I think is the first question that you have to do. And it might be different. Community college purpose might have a different than a professional Triton College, might be different than a kindergarten or an eighth grade. They all may have different sort of purposes. But so at the younger you are and the least professional oriented the education institution is, I think the fundamental job of an education institution is to provide the skills and the substance of deep learning. And it's if you agree with that premise, then I am deeply, deeply suspicious and dubious about the advantages of technology, including AI, in achieving the goal, which is to develop the ability for deep learning and substantive knowledge. We talk about podcasts, and Bill's talking about I forgot what Joe was saying 10 minutes ago. Just that was a joke. But seriously, right? Like you get the point. Like if
You're not alone.
but listening to a podcast is not a way to develop deep learning. And I get very, very worried when I hear education leaders say we're taking AI and we're trying to keep up and we're trying to do it. Where's the data that says that these technologies are improving students' educational outcomes, their ability to learn, and their substantive knowledge? And I just finished a book, Jared Hovarth, I mentioned on a previous podcast I mentioned with you guys, says, and the data shows that this generation of students is the least educated, the least prepared substantively and deep learning than any generation before it since we've been collecting the data. And what's changed? It's ed tech, and ed tech is the big delta. And I think what I get worried when educators are proceeding. I hope I'm still talking here. I get worried when worried that educators are proceeding without data and a little bit blind and chasing the cool thing. It's very easy. Even Pete has figured out AI. So if Pete can do it, and I've just thrown out insults.
Come
I love you
on.
guys. But
You're
but
behind.
we don't need to teach that stuff in school. It could be a special class how to use AI. But if we start incorporating the pedagogy, or we start incorporating the technology into every element of school just because it's cool and neat, I think without the data to support that it's helping learning, I think we're causing a catastrophic danger for our society and our education institutions. So I would just say proceed with trepidation, check the data, and make sure that it's actually helping. Don't just do it just because it's neat. And certainly just don't take the word of the technology corporations assurances that their product is going to help your students do better, because obviously they're conflicted. So sorry if I get a little colored here, but I just feel like it's a really important issue. So I'm trying to ring the bell.
Are you against AI? Like what?
No, I'm not
Remember,
against
you got to talk slow to me, Philippe.
Pete, I'm not against AI. It gives a rube like myself the ability to write a clean piece for parents' care.
That was 3 years ago, Philippe.
but what I think, I'm not a neuroscientist, so I'm going off what I've read from a neuroscientist. But a professional who has the deep knowledge and has done the work, AI is a fantastic tool. If you're somebody who knows how to code and you're a very good coder, you're going to be able to use AI to help you code amazingly. If you're just
you're out of work.
No, you're not if you know how to code.
You are.
The people who are going to have a hard time, who are going to be out of work, are going to be a lot of the people the younger guys, because they don't know how to code, and they're going to try to code using AI, and they're just unnecessary. My point is,
they can't critical think. That's why.
There you go.
That's right.
That's the whole point.
That's right. It's the deep critical thinking. It's learning how to code. If I were to write an essay and I didn't know anything about a subject, I wouldn't know if AI is giving me good information or not.
Philippe, coding is like, should we be using calculators and spreadsheets?
Yeah, but if you I can give you a response to that, Pete. If you were to take a third grader, or what grade do you learn math? You learn arithmetic, maybe
I don't
first
know.
grade.
I never did.
Let's just say second grade. Okay.
Chicago public school.
So if you were to say, hey, we're going to teach a second grader how to do arithmetic, if I were to hand them a calculator and say all you have to do is press 7 plus 8 and get 15, then have we taught them math? Have we taught them arithmetic, or have we just taught them how to use this calculator? No, I think we would all agree here that we probably should learn and memorize their arithmetic tables so that they learn the ability to do
But
arithmetic.
why?
Because that's the deep learning. That's how you become a critical thinker. That's how you develop the neurons in your brain to become somebody who's able to function in society. If we're just wholly dependent on the calculator and you never do math, then you're not a deep thinker. You're just somebody who knows how to use a tool, and that makes maybe you a tool in a sense, because you don't have the ability. You don't have the ability to think critically, So that's the point, is that technology is eroding our children's abilities to think critically and deeply. And we have administrators and education leaders jumping full into the pool on ed tech without looking at the data and without thinking critically themselves about what impact this is having on our students.
But what good is it having these kids going up to a chalkboard and writing out multiplication tables, solving these problems? They need to be able to say, what am I trying to do here? What's the end result? What's the before and after what I'm trying to do here? That isn't being done, but we are teaching multiplication tables. That's the problem, I think.
Well, you learn by doing, and the AI, the way I'm looking at it, the AI is a supplement to the teaching process. A job of a college professor is to teach critical thinking skills. Teach both sides of the issue. I don't want them to know where I stand politically. Doesn't matter where I stand politically in the classroom. Our job is to teach critical thinking. Teach both sides of the issue. Let the students make up their own minds. AI to me helps supplement. It does not replace. I agree with that completely.
There's this concept of agent, meaning that if you don't use the AI to actually accomplish something for you, then it's just Google, right? So I think that my prediction, which of course will be wrong, is I think that whoever is really, really good is going to be really, really great and distributed out there, whether they're in the role in the school system or they're in the role on the internet spreading their knowledge. Getting back to the stamp of approval, Dr. Griffin, do you think that that would be a role of a university to verify that somebody knows something with a test that could be proctored? Because I mean, I asked you this 3 years ago, and I ask you again, if you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, whatever, you have to be verified by a board that says you have this knowledge. How can we do that with people that want to come in and just take the test? And I'm sure you would charge them more for that test to say, yes, this person knows what's going on. What do you think?
Well, I mean, a couple of things there. I mean, if you're talking about somebody coming in with work experience and have somewhat mastered some of the skills that are needed to be learned in the classroom, that's fine. We will give them a comprehensive exam to see if they really know those skills. On the other hand, if I understand what you're asking, that's essentially what final exams are for in the classroom. Comprehensive final exams to make sure you understand all the concepts that we've been teaching. And if you don't, then you're not going to pass the course. You're going to have to retake it. So that's at least where we, through comprehensive exams, make sure the students understand them. And if they're learning the course learning objectives, there are course learning objectives that we set out in the syllabus to make sure those course learning objectives are met at the end of the semester.
How do we get differentiation? Philippe can get on this one. How do you know who a good teacher is and a not as good teacher is? We can see the schools that are at capacity and not capacity. Why can't we say, hey, you know what? We need to have more people like that and less like that. Why can't we do that? Unions?
You talk about public schools. I mean, in the public school system, it's enforced monopolies. That's how our society has decided to organize it. So it's most places it's primarily where you live is what public school you go to. That creates a monopoly situation and reduces choice. So I think everybody kind of knows a little bit that monopolies can be okay, but they can also cause some problems. When you lack competition, you may lack incentive to improve. That's why our organization, Parents Care, exists, because there's no competition or little competition for a lot of families. They have to send their kids to a public school here in Lake Forest. So we're trying to create the incentives for the administration to act in what we think is the best interest of the kids and the families of this town, and make it uncomfortable for them to just sit back and relax inside their monopoly situation. So I think more choice would be better. I think if choice existed, and families, particularly families of low income who are stuck in Chicago public schools that are completely, in many cases, non-functional, scholarship and opportunities to give those kids opportunities to have school choice, I think would be a tremendous societal boon. And it's unfortunate that our local state senator, Julie Morrison, and our local state rep, Bob Morgan, and the Democrats in Springfield let the Invest in Kids Act die. It's one of the most evil pieces of, and I don't use that word very often, but I think it's one of the most evil situations where they kowtowed to a Chicago public school teacher union and limited a choice for the lowest income, most vulnerable families in our thing, and forced them back into non-performing public schools. So anyway, I could talk about this forever, but I think it's a great question, Pete. Like, more competition is good, and when you have a monopoly, you have to create other institutions to enforce a monopoly. Works well. It's like it. So,
Bill, I don't know if you can comment on it, Bill, because I got another zinger for you, and I'll even let Joe talk this time. What's the problem with differentiation in the school system? I mean, heck, we got layoffs out there in the corporate world, and people are getting lopped off. Why is it so hard to have differentiation with figure out who the better teachers are?
Well, at the collegial level, you have tenure. You have the whole idea of tenure. Okay.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. So that is a big issue. Okay. Now, so it makes it much more difficult. But I evaluate instructors every year, full-time faculty and adjuncts, and I go in the classroom, see what they're doing, see their instructional methods, review their syllabi every semester, and I will give them guidance and direction. And I can't, I'm limited to a certain extent, but I certainly provide guidance. Everyone that I've hired here, except for 2 people, were here before I came. When I hire people, adjuncts and/or sit on a committee for full-time people, I'm looking for a mid-level business experience. I want to have this person, the students emulate that person who's standing in front of the room and sharing their business experience with them. So I want people from business areas. For me, obviously, I'm heading up business and accounting and paralegal, by the way, as well. So I'm looking for people that have had some experience that are going to be hired.
And you're talking about Triton College, Bill, right now?
I'm talking about
okay.
Triton. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, because that's what I can control.
Yeah.
As a board member, I have limited control on that, but certainly can be promoting what I think we should be looking for with full-time faculty. And obviously, as a board member, I'm going to approve that at the end of the day.
And your institution's also subject to market forces, right? As a private school, so you have to provide a good quality thing, or you're not going to have any students anymore.
Well, no, we're public schools. Well,
oh, you're public. Okay.
Yeah, we're community college as well.
Triton is basically the community college for like River Grove.
Oh, okay. I thought it was
Southsiders.
No, it's
Northwest.
40-something community college in the state.
I see. Okay, thank you. My misunderstanding. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So that's what I'm looking for. Now they go through a process of 3 years. I have one right now that's working through the tenure process. Work with him very closely to make sure that he's teaching the course learning objectives to the students the way they should be done. But it's a little tough when you have a tenure process. But if you're involved in the initial process, so a guy like me that is sitting in the chair that can make the decision of hiring, that's where it really comes about. Okay, if you've got a person not speaking poorly about anyway, that hasn't had any other than academic experience, I think that's part of an issue. Okay. If you've grown up in all of your academic world, you've just done the academic, doesn't make you a bad person. But, I come from a different perspective from the outside world, 32 years in corporate America. So I think we should be hiring people that have more experience in the outside world. I think that would help a lot.
Joe, we're all Dabrowski people here, I'm guessing. He put a post out there that talked about school capacity, and I'd love to get Dr. Griffin's thoughts on that. Could you frame the question that that I'm going to ask?
Well, I think to what Ted Dabrowski posted, he talked about that there are schools in Chicago, in the CPS, Chicago Public School System, that are at, I can't remember, like such a low percentage of capacity. It was ridiculous, like less than 10%. I think.
Now, explain capacity, because people get.
So buildings are built, and based on whatever the current academic standards are of number of kids you can have in a classroom and all that, you can say, look, the capacity of this building is 1,000 students or 2,000 students, whatever the number may be. And that's pretty accepted around most discussions in this. But it's not even close. I mean, they had some schools that the attendance there was like, you could fit them all in like 2 or 3 classrooms of the whole building. And so you have a lot of wasted space, a lot of wasted costs, but administrative costs, because you have to have a principal, you have to have an assistant principal, all the things that go with running a school building. And so I think Ted was pointing that out, because people say, well, I don't live in Chicago, so I don't really care about their school system. And I strongly disagree with that, because number one, Illinois taxpayers fund Chicago public schools, whether they like it or not, more than I think the taxpayers in Chicago fund them. So they get a huge amount of state funding as well as federal funding, but a huge amount of state funding. So our taxes are funding CPS at an alarming level. And I would also argue that, we're not an island, that even though you don't live in Chicago, what happens in Chicago affects the whole region. So if you've got a bad school system, then it's going to hurt the region, and it has. So I would but that's where it is now. Pete, I think
come on.
You can put your own words in your mouth, but you want to extrapolate that out to Lake Forest is not at full capacity. It's certainly nowhere near the low level that CPS is in Chicago, but it's not at full capacity, because you can never be exactly full, because you can't.
And we're a more giving community.
But hold on. Enrollments go up and down. Okay. So you cannot build the perfect building that's always exactly 100%. Okay. So you have to kind of plan for ebbs and flows in this. That's a reasonable thing. I would argue they're at about somewhat the reasonable ebb and flow on this. Now, you and Philippe may disagree on that, and that's fine. And you guys, and Philippe certainly knows more about this than me.
Before.
But you want to bring in, you want to say, okay, there's underutilized space at Lake Forest. Let's bring in kids from North Chicago and Waukegan.
That have merit, yeah.
And I don't know how that would fly. I know they do bring in kids from North Chicago now. A certain graduate of Lake Forest High School that lives in my house told me that.
But not from an offshoot program. I'm talking about.
I don't know how it works. Maybe Philippe.
Philippe, what do you think?
What do I think about what?
Let's just say Lake Forest is at 60% capacity. Set a goal of 70%, and that 10% bring the top performers in the county or whatever the district is that people are willing to travel to go to school. Give them an opportunity. I know it's a public school, but it's compared to a Chicago public school, it's a private school, if that makes sense.
I would, existentially, I would love to see a situation where people could choose the school that they want to send their kids to more freely, the public school that they want to. I do understand the benefits of community cloistering, but I think that Lake Forest is a winner in that thing. We've got so much money. We've got highly educated families, and so are a winner in the current cloistered monopoly system. You know, you know, changing that would probably be a loser for our community, but for our society, for the kids as a general thing, I think it would be an improvement to the education system to allow people more choice into what schools they send their kids, and and to allow more freedom for schools to develop specialties and the ability to you know, provide the type of education that they want, whether it be religious, whether it be engineering, whether it be the arts. I think more choice tends to produce better results. You know, so you know, to say unilaterally, do I support you know, Lake Forest and North Chicago merging? You know, I don't support that in this specific one case. I don't. I think we have the current system, and if we were to do that, it would be so. It would have to happen over time. It would have to be something that transitions over a long period of time, because the
not in your
disparities are so
backyard.
large. I think it would have to happen slowly, you know, like if it happens everywhere, I'm happy to happen, but for it to happen like, oh, let's merge North Chicago and Lake Forest. I think that would
merge
be.
is a high.
I think where you could have a reasonable way of doing this, we've talked about this before many times, is 1 out of every 10 school districts in the United States is in the state of Illinois. That's ridiculous. So I think not so much in terms of the physical school buildings, but in terms of these districts. I mean, the administration of Lake Forest High School is primarily at that west campus on Waukegan Road, which was an example of a high school being built for a large baby boom population, and then just a few years later, not really being needed again as a full 4-year high school like it was when it first opened, or 2-year. I can't remember how they did it, but before my time even. But so you got the administration, Matt Montgomery and his staff in that office there on Waukegan Road. 5 minutes south, 10 minutes south at most, you have a whole other administration at Deerfield High School on Waukegan Road. So, you know, and I could go west and find an administration at Stevenson. I could go, you know, and in most states, they don't have these tiny school districts. They have larger school districts. And that doesn't change necessarily the number of schools, though it certainly could. But I think that's where the cost savings could come in without negatively affecting it. And maybe that would raise, you know, standards, you know, maybe that would help out fund things better.
If you gave all of our kids a chance to go to whatever school they want, I would support that. If you were just to say, well, we're going to keep the monopolies, but we want to redraw the lines to merge specific things, I'm not for that, because I don't think that's going to solve the problem.
Look, I've been a proponent of school choice for 30 years. But if you get into a situation where you don't have full school choice, where you say, okay, you could go to the public school, but you couldn't go to Lake Forest Academy or to Loyola Academy or to Christian Heritage Academy, even though you're and if you do, you still have to pay taxes to us. I think that's where the rub would be. And I think the rub also would be is if I'm paying taxes, and we pay a lot of taxes here in Lake Forest to the school districts, but if I'm paying taxes to Lake Forest High School and someone is attending that high school who's not paying taxes, either through their property taxes where they live, or if they live on a rental property, their landlord is paying property taxes. So if they're getting what is essentially a free ride when I'm paying,
it would take a radical change.
That would be the rub that I think a lot of people would have a problem with, but that could be worked out in terms of funding and choice, where you could say, okay, if that kid chooses to go to Lake Forest instead of North Chicago, then Lake Forest gets those tax dollars instead of North Chicago. Now, North Chicago is going to scream bloody murder saying, hey, we're underfunded as it is. You're going to close it. That's going to destroy us if you let kids have a choice and take the money away. But that's what school choice is about, is giving kids a full menu selection of it and letting the free market decide what will happen. I am quite positive if you had a full public-private choice system like you do in Florida and some other states, that Lake Forest High School would do just fine. That people would still choose to be there because it is overall an excellent school, a nice place to be. There's some other school districts not far from here that you can't say that about. they'd probably go out of business if people could choose not to go there.
Well, we're trying to help them out. Dr. Griffin, sorry we left you out of the
That's all
All right,
club
Bill.
here.
All right. I'm
I
for
was like,
school.
what did I get myself into? I'm just running for precinct committee person.
Yeah, I'm for school choice. Though I am for school choice, but other than that, I'm not sure I could comment on that.
Well, here, we're closing out, Dr. Griffin. March 17th, April 1st. What does Lake
Right.
County got to know?
Yeah, that they should vote for Griffin. William Griffin is on the ballot. He has been a dedicated professional for Lake Forest and Lake County. He will show up. He does the hard work that needs to be done, and he will help people understand the issues that are supporting that candidate and what they're all about. So I'm your guy. You need to come out and vote for William M. Griffin. I'll be there for you.
Now, you started out the show with your song of "Ain't Got No Satisfaction." Is that your final answer?
Let me see. Let me think about this. Maybe I'm looking for a friend. Okay, how about that? Okay.
It's got to be a Rolling Stones song, Philippe.
That's right.
You missed the.
Yeah,
You-
I'm just
you and
looking
me-
for a friend.
You and me both, brother.
Yeah. So
Philippe Melin, Joe Weiss, Dr. Griffin. Hey, Jeff Urso, Puck Cancer, baby. We got
Buy the
you,
shirts
baby.
at Duffers, everyone. Please
Okay.
buy the shirts.
Buy
Goes
a-
for good cause.
Hey, stock a little bit larger size, please.
Oh, just lose some weight, Pete. Get on the Ozempic, would you?
all right, thanks, guys.
Weiss, take care. Bye-bye.
right.
Great
Thank you
show.
all.
Broker Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, JM, and Paul G.